that, and I feel like a big part of my life has always been like moving away from toxic productivity. So like toxic productivity to me is like is like when you cannot deal with stagnation. And like it's weird because like there's a difference between like adaptive productivity and like maladaptive productivity. So like if you're just doing stuff to um to for if you're just working for the satisfaction of knowing that you're working, like a lot of people kind of in our culture just kind of like accept that as like a good thing. They're just like, well, yeah, it's good. It's a hard day's work. You want to feel good about it. And I'm like, I get how that's good in some senses. Like it makes you like, it's good to produce a good amount of yield for your work while also still, oh, look at his little hat. Like it's good to produce some yield for what you do, and like how busted is that if like you can also enjoy it. And like I enjoy work. Like I've crafted a life where I can enjoy the things that I do, and the things that I choose to spend my time on. But like it wasn't always that way for me. I used to feel very much like uncomfortable. Like I'd get like a wave of uncomfortableness whenever I used to sit still. Um and um and now, I don't feel like that anymore. I actually feel very I actually feel very like content sitting still. Um and like you'll notice this if like you try and meditate, because like people will, they'll try and meditate, and then like it'll be like a thoroughly uncomfortable experience. Um because like they've trained their mind to compulsively, like whenever they feel insecure or like they're not making any progress in life, it makes sense to cope with that by doing a lot of stuff. So like I think that it makes sense. It's just that like I don't think that things that make sense, or even some things that are good for you, I think can also be bad for you paradoxically. And so like we think that things are either like good for us or bad for us. But like, like it's the thing that, but also we also kind of intuit the idea of like, if like things should be done in moderation. Oh my god, everyone's got these cute little outfits on. Wait, why I started getting so good? I can date people now, and people are in their cute little outfits. This is so cute. Oh, this dude needs a gift. Here, you want pumpkin? Yeah, you're welcome, man. Um, like, uh, but like also everyone. So like, how do we know the difference and stuff? Like, I personally think, and a lot of people can disagree with this, but this is just my own personal take. I think um, I think when um, I think when people cannot tolerate the absence of something, then it tends to be bad, because like then we become dependent on the thing. And a lot of times people will confuse this for like purpose. Like, and I think that like dharma, your purpose, is a very different thing in life. So I think that I think when it comes to like your purpose in life, your dharma, I think that that is something that like you provide to the world, that you create. Um and it's not for any like emotional satisfaction. It's because like it can actually be very emotionally unpleasant for you. It's just like you intuitively know that like you're supposed to do it. It's really hard to describe if you've never like felt it. But that's just kind of how I see it. Oh my goodness, so many guys here. Um, um, but like a lot of people will get kind of like addicted to something, and they'll like kind of romanticize it in their mind, and therefore they'll like think that it's like their purpose, which like makes sense. Like I'm not expecting them to automatically just intuit like what their purpose is. I actually think that it's like a really hard thing to kind of figure out in life. But like I don't, but I also like, and I feel bad for like being a contrarian and stuff like that, but I think that like it's a very subtle thing that we need to watch out for. So like for instance, like just because you have like a craving for relationships doesn't make it like a purpose. And like you can figure this out if like you need to understand like what duty am I serving to other people in this instance. And I guess that there's like some nuance to it where it's like technically it doesn't need to involve other people, whatever, but like I think that I think that people will often find something that's very emotionally gratifying, and then they will confuse that with their purpose in life. And this is like, this goes kind of to like what I always talk about, which is like sometimes dopamine is like people's guiding light in life, and this is what leads actually to a lot of purposelessness. So like when people quantify the quality of their experience by how much dopamine they got, I think that that's actually like the exact, this creates the exact opposite, but not necessarily better. It creates it's still an equal problem, but it's an opposite problem. Um, then ooh, um, it creates a different problem compared to the uh, what was I trying to say? Sorry, I'm excited about these boots. Like it creates a different type of problem than like sacrificing dopamine compulsively, because then you feel like you're like doing stuff. Like people who are like you'll get this a lot from people who are like, I can't ever like relax or take a vacation because then I feel like super uncomfortable and I'm like, oh no, I got to be doing stuff. So like I don't think either end of the spectrum is good, because either way you're dependent. Like even if like you because a lot of people will perceive it as willpower. They'll be like, build yourself, like pick yourself up by your bootstraps, all that sort of stuff. But then like you ask them like, how do you feel when you're not moving? Like they're like sharks. If they don't move, then like they die. And it's just like, oh no, it feels terrible to sit still, and it's because like they haven't made peace with their internal emotions. So like I don't think, no matter what you do, I don't think it's a good idea to move through life avoiding emotions, because that's like what it is. Like if you're compulsively working, then like you're avoiding the feeling of like stagnation, which like you have a very low tolerance of. And a lot of people will confuse that for having a lot of emotional willpower. But like I just think a really easy way to see that if you actually have a lot of emotional willpower is like, okay, how comfortable am I with the exact opposite? Like, am I comfortable sitting still? Because a lot of people are like, oh, I'd love to be doing nothing all day like you. I'd love to just be playing away on my computer and my video games and stuff like that. But like truly think about like what, and even experience, like just take a day off and like notice if there's feelings of uncomfortableness that arise that are like, oh, I should have been, like, I could be so much more productive right now. I could be doing this, I could be doing that and stuff. And once again, I don't think that this is like a wholly bad experience. Like I don't think that there is no merit to that sort of thought process. It's more like I'd I think that things can have benefits, but I'm talking about in the spectrum of like long-term happiness. How do you cultivate long-term happiness? So like I think like if you live your life and it's in a way that works, in the sense that you may get a lot of material wealth and stuff like that, but you always feel like you're more that you're fluctuating between like relief and worry, like relief and worry. There's no true like bliss. There's no true happiness. That's when I would challenge the way that you're going about life. And like paradoxically, because like a lot of people don't want to do this because like they say that like you can ask these people like if I could take away the anxiety surrounding like like if I could take away your inability to sit still, would you? And would you want me to? And then they're like, no, because that's like what keeps me moving forward. Um, and I'm like, that makes sense, but like think about what that comes to. It's kind of like think about how kind of weird that answer is when you actually like think hard about um like the implications of it. It's kind of like me being like, if I could if I could stop you from needing food to survive, would you want me to? And then like the person's answer is like no, because then I wouldn't go out and search for food. And it's like okay, but like why do you need to search for food? And it's just like, because what if I'm hungry? And I'm like, I just told. So it's like literally so ingrained in the way that they live life that they don't know how to like, they don't know how to separate it out from their life. Like they are their work. So sooner or later, these two things become like completely assimilated with one another. Um, and I just personally don't think that that's like the healthiest strategy. Um, but like I can't, I'm not the arbiter of like what works for everyone, but I've very rarely ever seen that sort of personality be able to live a happy and content life. Like I think there's a huge difference between like relief and content. Um, and a lot of people actually can see, they see contentness as like a purely bad thing, which is kind of weird because we see being content as like a good thing, right? Um, so it's like kind of weird that like we're like no, but like if I was content, then I'd be unhappy. Whereas like that that presumes that the part of you that is has a void in it remains. But like that's the difference between relief and content. Is that like relief implies that that it's going to come back and then you're going to as a result of that you're as a result of the doing nothingness, you're going to loop back around to like wishing you hadn't done that. That's where the like compulsive toxic productivity comes from, is like people will learn that when they like that people will um people will learn that, oh okay, when I'm uh like people will kind of learn throughout their life like, oh, when I don't do something I regret it later and then I kick myself because I'm unhappy, and then when I'm unhappy I'm like, what could have provided relief from this unhappiness, and then they think of the things that give them relief and it's doing work. um but like, do you guys, I hope that this is kind of making sense. Like that comes from a fundamentally unhappy part of the brain. Like there is a way to learn satisfaction, and people who don't want to be satisfied, that all comes from a cognitive bias of assuming that the part of you that feels like you need to fill it with purpose and direction, like that part of you is assumed to be persisting because like you now so strongly identify with your goals, but like you are not your goals. Like I don't know how to say this, but like as like it's literally a defense mechanism to identify with like a title. Like if you deflect everything, if like every time someone asks you like who are you and you say like your job title or you say how much money you make and stuff like that, then like that's literally a defense mechanism to guard against the lack of identity or feelings of shame, like because you're hoping that people look at that thing and you want to look at that part of yourself other than other parts that you don't find as desirable. um so it's kind of tricky because it's like, okay, in that case, like what do we like do about that? um and like there's not a single answer, but like there's a lot of ways to like cultivate that internal sense of joy and happiness. um One of the biggest ways that I found is meditating. And like once again, I say this all the time, all the time. But like but sorry, this fish is so hard to catch. Ooh, ooh, there we go. Oh my gosh. Okay. Um but like we can do things like meditate and like see what emotions come up. And here's the thing is that like emotions are temporary, and the only reason we think that they're not is because we um like the only reason that we think emotions aren't temporary is because we suppress them, and so then they become internal, but like they become eternal. The only thing that can make your emotions not temporary is the suppression of them, because then you're storing the energy and your mind will end up producing and holding on to the emotions more than it can expel them, because you're not giving it any room to expel them. Um, so I hope that kind of makes sense. Like it's like there's a lot of people who are like, I tell them like, did you know that emotions aren't eternal? And then like they're like, but it feels eternal. And I'm like, okay, what do you do when your emotions come up? And then they respond to me and they're like, well, I distract myself. I look for ways to not feel those emotions, or I tell the emotions that they're wrong. So like you'll see this a lot with like toxic positivity, is it's just like, if I'm feeling bad, then like the way I cope with that is that I'm like, oh, I'm actually wrong. But like what does that do? That stuffs them back down, because you're invalidating your own emotional thought process. You're invalidating yourself. And then like and then people tend to think that there's two options: either invalidating your emotions by having positive affirmations, or giving into them and saying like, oh yeah, actually I am a piece of shit. And I'm just like, there's neither of those options are optimal. Like it's just like both of those lead, because the reason you've tried both of them and decided that like, oh, it doesn't, neither of them work, and so I'm not going to do either of them, is because yeah, you're right, neither of them work, because that's not how you actually process emotions. So like you actually have to sit and dig deep with the emotions and understand like, where did this emotion come from? When did I learn that this was the truth? What actually literally happened, and then what was my interpretation of the thing? And then you're going to feel a lot of secondary emotions come up that are like, oh, I feel like it's so stupid that I even need to process this, or it's going to discourage you from processing them in the first place by being like, I shouldn't even be focusing on this. This is too hard. I should just give up and like go to do dopaminergic things and all this sort of stuff. Um, but like that's not and that but like that's where the money is, and I say this all the time, but like that's when you need to learn to that's when you need to learn to like process, to sit with the secondary emotions, and then that's where the real money is. So then you start diving into those emotions and processing those, and then um um and then like the third wave of emotions and so on and stuff. And this is how you truly dive deep into your emotions. And when you finally confront them, don't internalize them, don't tell them that they're right. And if your brain is telling you that you're right, understand that that is a separate part from you. You're not saying it's right. There's a part of you that wants to accept it. And then but like also just understand that that part's not you. And so you don't need to accept it, and you don't need to agree with it, and you don't need to disagree with it. Just understand what your brain is doing, gain awareness of it, and that's what will happen. So like when people are like, I can't be stagnant, I need to be moving because then my life has no purpose. And I'm like, when did you learn that your life had no purpose outside of your accomplishments? Like what, like how to, and then like, this will often, not to get like too therapy on everyone, but like this will often relate back to like, okay, how did your parents treat you when you took time off, or when you did, or when they deemed your work to be insufficient in a way, like when they're like, oh, okay, you didn't do enough work to deserve this play. And like, and like another symptom of that is like, okay, when did you ever earn your playtime, or was it always kind of met with this kind of like, you need to be doing more? Oh, you're gonna play your stupid games while your grades suffer or something like that. And like, I'm not saying that like your parents are assholes, like they might be, but like there are like good, benevolent, legitimate reasons to like do that, especially because that's probably what their parents taught them, and it probably worked out for them financially and everything, because that sort of toxic productivity. I'm never saying that toxic productivity doesn't get you to go a lot of places. A lot of the most powerful people in the world I would consider pretty toxically productive, but I actually think that that's not even optimal, because like once you because like when you're operating on an axis of toxic productivity, you guys have to understand that like there's like when you're operating on an axis of toxic productivity, there is a fundamental amount of stress that exists in your mind. Um and so like we've talked about this in past streams that relate to like gaming and everything like that. It applies to everything. Like why is the person, hello Mango King TV, where do I'm a therapy student. I'm just having a chill stream today. I don't have any questions, but if you have any psychology or neuroscience or even spirituality questions that like, or just like, oh, awesome. Yeah. They yeah, so if you have any questions or anything like that, or just anything that like, if you could ask someone, what's your favorite psychological effect? Um God, that is a good question. I it depends on what you mean by psychological effect, because there's so many machinations of the, so like I would say that uh okay, you go first. Good. Halo effect. No, yeah, I love I love shit like that. That's so good. Like also, real quick, to wrap up for everyone who's listening before about the toxic productivity stuff, I just wanted to say that like there's way, you need to process your emotions like any other emotion, and then you need to get to the root of why you're toxically productive, and sit with the uncomfortableness like it's another feeling, because it's not you. It's not a state of being. It's just you. Like it's hard to describe, but like like the fear of stagnation is a fear. Like it's not like you're not afraid of stagnation. There is an emotion that negatively reinforces that, and you should explore that, much like any other emotions. Exactly, like your thoughts aren't us. Like, so that's really important to acknowledge. Like, so that's what I would say to like a lot of toxically productive people. I used to be very much in that camp. I used to be very uncomfortable with it, but now I'm actually better at chasing my goals because I'm not tilted. I'm not chasing goals out of desperation, which actually allows me to be very clear-headed as I approach them, because there's a fundamental sense of happiness that exists within me that is separate from my goals. So like I can try and affect what I can affect, but like it's just like everything in life becomes extra credit. Like I use this phrase all the time, like life becomes a sandbox game and not like survival horror at that point. And so yeah, I just wanted to wrap that up real quick. My favorite psychological, so like this is kind of weird, because like I'm gonna give you a very unconventional answer, because like it doesn't, I don't think it has a name in Western silence, like the halo effect. So like I was just talking about this with my girlfriend today. So like there is a fundamental principle of people where we are able to there's a fundamental principle of humans where we are able to there is a part of us that is separate from the thoughts and emotions. So like we know a lot about this from like things like meditation, right? So like there are parts of us that are completely separate from the thing that we identify with. And so like I like to call this the observer. A lot of people like Dr. K call this the observer. I really like that term from it. So like think about it this way, cuz like people are like, well, you kind of are your thoughts because like what else are you and stuff like that. But like think about it this way. Your mind is kind of a place that has no mirrors in it. So like anger cannot perceive itself. Like because anger is its own thing. It can't understand anger. Um well, I think therefore I am is out like yeah, like I think you can kind of like you can it's hard to describe, but like there is a fundamental awareness that you can have about yourself. So like what I found really interesting is I've even explored this myself. So like if I'm really tired, then I think of my entire being as tired. But like there is a fundamental meanness that is outside of the tiredness that can understand and comprehend the emotion. And this sounds like very basic stuff. It's like, yeah, of course we can notice that stuff, but like think about like the implications of seeing think about like the implications of like knowing that we feel an emotion and understanding that those emotions cannot identify themselves. That means that like even for people who are like intoxicated, there's a part of them that is perfectly intact the entire time, and that part of you's impairment isn't changed. Because think about it, like your judgment is impaired when you're in. Thank you so much for the follow. Like if you're intoxicated, then like your judgment is impaired and therefore should be incorrect in a lot of ways. But there's a part of you that is unwavering, that fully comprehends the entire time, I'm drunk right now. And like that part is not affected by the drunkenness. It's not like there's a you-ness that gets that you're drunk. And there's no, but like, it's not like, maybe I'm not drunk actually. Maybe I'm just, like, it's not like it's not affected by that part of your mind. And like, so this whole awareness thing that comes out of this is like, so we take that for granted, right? We take that for granted. We're just like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, of course you can see your emotions, whatever, like emotions can't see themselves, whatever. I get that. Like when I'm sad, I get that I'm feeling sad, but like we very rarely think about the implications of that. Like there are grounding techniques that rely on this train of thought. We bring ourselves down to earth by this idea. Yes, exactly. So like, you're not your thoughts, you're not your emotions, because like thoughts are temporary, emotions are temporary. So there's always a fundamental you-ness that exists outside of your thoughts. And so like what is that? Like what does that even do and stuff? So like in Eastern spirituality, they call it neti neti, which is like not this, not this. And basically that's kind of a clever way of describing yeah, absolutely. I'll talk about that in a second actually. Like but there's a fundamental, like they call the fundamental you neti neti, which means not this, not this, which essentially means that like because the mind can't be there's no mirrors in the mind, it the same way that anger can't view itself. Like say it with me, like they can't the you-ness can't view itself. So in a weird way, we will never know or understand or truly comprehend the part of ourselves that is actually us. The part of us that remains unchanging regardless of what we identify with. Like, so like that part of the mind, I think is so cool because it's literally unknowable. Yeah, exactly. Like, exactly. And like that's just so fundamentally awesome to me. Like, because like that, a lot of people go with like an identity crisis because of this. Like, but there's almost like a strange peace to be found with understanding that like nothing we worry about being us is us. But also, that doesn't mean that we're nothing. There is a fundamental aspect of our existence that can never view itself. So there's no point in you trying to understand it because you just never will. So like, I don't know. I think that that part's so cool to me because you'll never understand it. That's why psychology is so cool to me and why spirituality is so cool to me because it's so unknowable. Like, would you like to just Vasana since you watch Doctor since you watch Doctor K? Like yeah, like I really like and even before that I'll go to your thing about like locuses of control and stuff like that. So like I am very so like I think learned helplessness is not like I think learned helplessness it relates a lot to like locus of control, and I think that like when people um I think that when people what's it called? Sorry, it's hard to focusing on fishing at the same time as this. It's a lot more intensive. But like people will we often forget this. We often forget our greatest fear is that we're not incapable, we are powerful. Yes, exactly. Like that's like why, you know, spiritual gurus, they like laugh when they like then when they become like enlightened and everything like that, because like they realize that like all of that effort was weirdly for nothing. Like karmically it's not for nothing, because like you need to like go through that to understand your to like you need to go through things to understand how futile they are in a way. So like you need to experience the reason you needed to experience it is to realize how little you needed it. Um and I think that that's equally important. It's kind of like a paradox. It's like you don't need it, but like you needed to experience it to realize that you didn't need it. So it's kind of weird. Um but I still think it's really cool. Because like I think that learned helplessness is very prevalent in people, and like we think of learned helplessness as a bad thing, which like often it is. I would say that more often than not, like people who are in positions where they can express the learned helplessness, like I would say more often than not they're in a situation where the learned helplessness is more maladaptive than it is adaptive. um like they're like and so we think of it as bad, and so we just tell people things like just have a yeah, like yeah, so we tell people like just get an internal sense of an internal locus of control, and it's like that's not how that works. Like the answer to an internal locus of control is not just simply saying like pull yourself up by your bootstraps, because like what happens every time we tell people that, like they're like screw you, that's not like I don't want to like that's completely invalidating. So it's like okay, so like what do we do then? Like if we're not just supposed to be like lol bro, get good at the game, like then like how do we go about increasing the internal locus of control? So like this is such a hard thing to break, because similar to depression, in in external locus of control, um like it takes away your ability to fight against it. It's a very like it's like depression and those sort of mental illnesses are very difficult to deal with, because typically anxiety is something that we still have like the active want to get rid of. But like with depression, it convinces us that like we have no way to fight it. And so it's very hard actually to fight learned helplessness through an external locus of control. So there are like a couple ways I'd say you can do this. Typically like because typically like why do people have a like yeah, I'll answer that question in just a second. Like typically we what was I saying? So like internal locus of control. So So like when we get learned helplessness, it's because people don't get this. It's because we actually were helpless originally. Like it doesn't mean we are now, but it means that at some point in our life we likely actually were helpless. Like we couldn't do anything regard. And so your brain realized a very important lesson, which is that like it doesn't matter what we do, it's wasting energy to do it. And that's often kind of like that's where the yeah, and that's kind of where the idea of like um that's kind of where the idea of what am I trying to say? Sorry, I'm trying to focus on this and that at the same time, but like um and so people take that for granted because like our brain realizes that like it's wasted energy, so we shouldn't do it. So it's really hard to get them to understand that trying to change that part of them is important. So like maybe I could do a deep dive someday into how to get more of an internal locus of control, because I think it's actually one of the most subtly difficult things to do in mental health, because it literally takes away our ability to do it. But let's see. Do you have strong opinions about American healthcare when it comes to mental health? So I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I actually think that like I think that American mental health care is very bad when it comes to mental health, but I actually think that we are one of the best countries for it. Like if that makes sense, like I like if this was a tier list and we had the countries and how they treat mental health care. And this is like, I'm not super um I'm not super knowledgeable about this. Like I don't spend my day researching this sort of stuff. This is just like kind of anecdotal experience, so take it with a grain of salt. I could be totally wrong about this stuff, but like from what I've seen, both culturally and financially, like our society is more accepting of mental health care than places like Europe, for instance. Like I've seen and I've heard the stories from Europeans trying to get mental health care. And like in a lot of ways, Europe, I'd say, is very de- that it is very developmentally, like in terms of society and culturally. I feel like it's very comparable to America, at least compared to things like Asia, where like the culture is very, very different in a lot of ways. And I think that like despite that, both culturally for most European countries, I'm not saying all, I can't speak for all of Europe, but from most European countries I've seen and most Europeans who talk about their experience with both cultural and financial mental health care, it's like barely supported. Their requirements to become a the requirements to become a therapist in Europe, from what I understand, are like so much lower because they have such a lack of cultural care for the men. Like the culture doesn't care about it, and so society doesn't care about it. So so there's no workers to care about it, and therefore they need to lower the bar, because the more you raise the access, the more you raise the barrier um to entry, the less people are going to do it. So they kind of like, it makes sense that they had to reduce it, but it's just unfortunate because I hear that most of the time when people get mental health care in places like Europe, it's like terrible. Like it's awful. And like, say what you will about American mental health care, I think mental health care as a field needs to get better in so many ways. I think American healthcare I think mental health care in so many ways needs to improve. I think it's improving a lot with the third wave of psychotherapy, which is like, things like mindfulness and stuff, which is a bias, to be fair, on my part, because I'm very spiritually inclined. I believe in a lot of spiritual concepts, and I think that those and things like mindfulness are very important, even though that like mindfulness is like a small piece of the puzzle when it comes to like spiritual stuff in the East. But like when mental health care is like I my answer is that like it's not good here, but like it's not good anywhere. And so like if you're purely taking a comparative standpoint, like how good is American mental health care? It's not good. But like, how good is it compared to other countries? I'd say it's actually pretty good. So like, it's sad that like one of the best countries for it isn't even that good. Like, but I say we have it better here than like most places that I've seen. For all I know, there could be like some African countries or some like some like small subsections of certain Asian countries and stuff like that that actually have really good mental health care. I just don't know because, like I said, I don't study it. But every time I hear Europeans talk about their mental health care, it's like actually a horror show. Like it's actually terrible, both from a financial and like for not as much from financial, mostly from like an experiential standpoint. Like it's just a complete waste of their time because their therapists like don't know what they're doing because the requirements are so much lower and they've been subtly psychologically conditioned to not care about mental health care. So that's kind of my take. Um, like like let's go back to Vasana's. Do you agree that Dr. K is that venting is a waste of time if there is no correction? So I think that so like I actually just talked about this on the last stream that I did, but like I think that when it comes to um uh sorry, one sec. Let me just read this super quick because it'll take like 2 seconds. There we go. Okay. Um but so like I think that I think that when it comes to like venting that like his I think that the title of the video that you're referring to is like kind of hyperbolic because like and like that's intentional. He's talked about like how much he chooses to clickbait and stuff, and I like the rate at which he does it. I actually think that there I think there's a benevolent purpose to kind of clickbaiting with this sort of thing because it gets more people to watch it. And like I think that what he's doing is ultimately a very good thing for society at whole. And so like I think that I completely agree with Dr. K on like 99.9% of the things that he believes. And he's like a huge inspiration for like a lot of the way that I handle therapy work. And like I definitely agree with him that like there is I think his point, if I can kind of succinctly put it, I think part of his point was that like there is a difference between like adaptive venting and maladaptive venting and it's purely dependent on the circumstance. So like if you're venting about something that you can control, then from a Freudian perspective, you're kind of diminishing the emotional energy that would have originally allowed you to to motivate it's giving you a negative emotion in order to invoke a certain behavior. So but like we as a society think that when a negative emotion comes up we need to get rid of it, but like we forget that sometimes that a lot of the times it's actually very adaptive for us to feel that negative emotion and use it as fuel to then do the thing. I think that brings in a whole argument about like toxic productivity, like I was talking about earlier, whether or not you think that that falls under toxic productivity. But I totally agree that a lot of times what people do is is that they will complain about things that they can control, and then whereas I'm typically never someone who says anything like keep your emotions in, but I do agree that like objectively from a Freudian perspective that it will diminish the emotional energy that was supposed to go towards you actually doing something about your problem. So yeah, in short, like I agree with him. I think that like when you I think that like venting is good when it's like an uncontrollable situation or it's like something bad that happened to you. But like or even then like it's like can you control it or not? I think you should vent about things that are like uncontrollable, and you should typically like at least moderate the venting you do about things that are within your control if you struggle with actually executing on the behavior. I purely think it's circumstantial. So like I think that if the situation can be changed by you, and venting tends to lead to you not executing on things because you've diminished the emotional energy, then I would say you need to stop venting. But like if you're already good at controlling what you can control and you don't think it negatively contributes to that at all, then like I would say that like it's fine to vent because like you're good at that sort of stuff. Like I vent sometimes, but like you said, like I don't make like a habit out of it because I think suppressing the emotions is worse in a lot of senses. But like it's because like I also like I don't ever vent and then lose the emotional energy to like control what I can control. Um um yeah, exactly. Like they're let me just see something. Yeah. So yeah, like like I'm not even a licensed therapist. Like I'm about to start my internship, so like I've gone through all the book work. Now all I need is the practical experience of actually like giving therapy to people. But like I even help friends out with stuff here and there. Um do you want to be an MFT? I think this will answer your question. I'm about to look up what that even is. Um MFT meaning marriage and family therapy. No, I do not. So like my prime so like I could end up doing that for sure. I'm very open to what I go into. The main thing that I want to emphasize is that like I'm very much into spirituality as a methodology of like helping people. So like a lot of my friends, I'll personally help them. Obviously not with like therapy or anything, but I'll literally just like psychoeducate them on using overlap between Western psychology and Eastern spirituality, much like Dr. K does. That's why he's like such a huge inspiration for me. Like I love the way that he tackles therapy. He has pretty much my exact therapy modality. And which obviously, like he like even he in his infinite wisdom is not like the therapist for everyone. So like I'm not going to be the therapist for everyone, but he's the one that I think I most agree with in his theoretical orientation and stuff like that, and like the way he goes about giving therapy to people, even though he doesn't do therapy on stream. Like I understand from what he's talking about when I relate it to like theoretical orientations, how he would probably do therapy if I saw it. Um, but what was I saying? So I think that if I when I do end up doing stuff, um like when I end up going into my field, I think my theoretical orientation right now, if I thank you, if I had to pick what I want to deal with, I would deal with hyperactive minds. So like if you've watched like his Ayurveda video, it's like or videos, it's like I'm a hardcore Vata. Um like that's very much what's like maxed out in my brain. I've had like very bad ADHD my entire life. But like through Vedic psychology, I've been able to like get a handle on it. And so like things like executive dysfunction, ADHD, things like that, things that are they're due to like a typically hyperactive mind, not always, but like they like thing because executive function isn't always like a hyperactive mind. Yeah, yeah, thank you. Yeah, like that's why even before you were able to come in, I was just like still talking and talking and talking, even though I didn't have a chat because like my mind moves at a million miles an hour. In fact, like despite how often and fast I talk, my brain actually still moves faster than my mouth can compensate for. So it's actually like, yeah, I have very, yeah, like that's why I'm like, maybe I'd be fine at streaming because like I can do that sort of stuff. Um, if you're interested, I don't know how Twitch works with like the. I don't know how it works with the like linking to other things, but like I do have a YouTube channel where I've got all the VODs from past things, and I kind of do things and like I do things in kind of a Dr. KS sense, but like I do it more like a talk show where like He has streams where he kind of does this stuff, but like I have it where be like people will give me questions off stream or in stream. Like you're the first person who's given me questions I literally started off this stream being like, now this is a therapy AMA, but like nobody ever really comes in, so I'm not really going to like, I doubt that anyone's going to give me questions. Then of course you come in and give me a bunch of questions. So like I'm very grateful for that. But like, you know, I answer a lot of people's questions, and often I will prepare like mini lectures based on um based on their question, so I can give them like a full I can give them like a full rundown of everything. I've got a lot of VODs where I talk about a lot of different things that you might be interested in. So definitely check out like my YouTube channel. I think the VODs are all still up on my Twitch channel, but definitely subscribe to my YouTube because I'll because of the storage limit, I'll eventually have to delete that stuff. But if you like Dr. K, I hope that like you'll like my sort of content because it's very adjacent. But then again, like, you know, I feel like it has the potential to become a it's just Kanato, so you can probably find a so like my username on this is it's Kanato, but like on YouTube it's just like in the search bar I find that typing like Kanato therapy student helps because all my videos start with therapy student. So yeah, let's see, what's my favorite form of self-care? Gotta be meditation. I think meditation's so cool. I don't even Thank you. Thank you so much for all the support. Like, you have no idea how much better these streams go and how much more focused they are when, like, I have someone like you to, like, help me with these questions and everything like that. And you're giving me such good questions. So thank you so much for that. Like, when, so, like, my favorite form of self-care is probably meditation. Probably because, like, it's basically effective for, like, every form of mental illness. Like, but like the thing is I don't even meditate that often. I don't even meditate that often because I used to meditate a lot, but now I carry a lot of the mentality from meditating into my everyday life, which I know is like kind of the intention of therapy. And like I don't think that I'm enlightened by any means, but like I definitely think I'm like in like the top 1% of like happy people and stuff. Like I think that I genuinely have like I mean, even when I take things like the Big Five personality test, I literally test in like I test highly in like every single category, and like one of those is like uh you know like I'm blanking on them right now, but like every test that's like how energetic and happy are you, and how much do you worry about things? I worry about things extremely little, and I'm just generally a very happy person, which was not always the case. Like I talk about this a lot on stream, but like 5 years ago I was like extremely mentally unhealthy. Like I was actually like um I was getting like therapy for like a very very like intense amount of negative emotion. Like I was diagnosed with like an extreme form of like anxiety. And like and so a lot of people will see me and they're just like, oh well, like, you know, he was born with the mental health gene. And let me tell you, no, I was not. No, I was not. I in no way was born with the mentally healthy gene. Um, yeah, my girlfriend really likes gratitude journals. She actually started journaling again recently, and she's been having a lot of fun with it. I think it's important to make habits very fun, because like then you're more likely to do them. Because like I think that obviously the point is that like later it'll become a habit, you know, and like so you won't have to have motivation and everything like that. But I think like in the important stages, like it's just like, you know, why not have the habit be fun if it can be fun? So I really like that she's able to do that sort of stuff. Worries a seed. I learned over time that I cannot let feelings of other people tame my own. I often see that people who go into therapy professions have experienced therapy. Yeah, like I used to think therapy was kind of like a scam. Like I used to be like I used to think, oh, I didn't know that. Thank you for letting me know. I'll be sure to do that then. Um, but like I used to be one of those people that thought that therapy was essentially, and I just talked about this yesterday with in relation to like how people think that self-talk is positive affirmations, and like positive affirmations is a type of self-talk, but it's not it is not, it's like a fingers and toes sort of thing. Like not every, and not all self-talk is positive affirmations. Um, I relate. I've experienced therapy only after a mental health crisis. Yeah, so like I used to think that like it was just gonna be someone hyping me up who didn't understand like how shitty I was, and like I and then like my parents told me to like go to therapy and everything like that, and because I told them about about like my problems and everything, and they were like okay, and I was like, and I went in totally pessimistically, like a therapy relation is like life change. Yeah, absolutely. My therapist, like, oh my god, bless her soul, she is responsible for like so much good in my life. I think a huge portion of that is weirdly, even though like he's like a guy on the internet, the reason I talk about Dr. K so much is because like legitimately he is like a transformative person in my life. Like I think he is so good at what he does. It's like incredible. Um and like so between that, and so I basically went to therapy, and then only after I was done with my therapeutic journey I started watching Dr. K, and that kind of helped like refine it. Like how this is oh, that's true, I should have looked at your message before I left, that's my bad. But like there's oh, throw out a sap to get that thing up there. It worked out. um but like I think about it like like therapy is good at like getting us from zero, from a negative 100 to zero, but like no one talks about like how to get from like 0 to 100, and that's like a big thing that I want to change about like therapy and everything like that. Like I like teaching people not just to get to neutral and removing mental illness, but like I love how like there's a way to get to happy. And it's not like, because a lot of people are like, if I went to therapy and I remove the mental illness, whatever's left is like how I have to live life. So if I'm just like bored and normal, but I'm like, and I'm functional, like if I learn to be functional and remove like the DSM criteria for having a mental illness, then like I guess I'm healthy now. I guess I'm happy. And I'm like, I love it how we can actually get to a further point. Yeah, exactly. Like life is so much fun now. Like people are like, "Oh, I wish I could have your optimism. I wish." And I'm like I'm literally like, "You could. Like you literally can have my optimism." Um but yeah, like it's like I used to self-identify as pessimistic, logical, and angry. And like I was like hard into the, like I literally hated most people. Like I literally said that like I literally said at one point that I think that less than 10% of people on this planet are good people. And like now I don't think that anyone, now it's not, I think some actions by my own moral standard are like reprehensible. Like I think things people can do things that are just straight up bad. But like I'm also not like, I don't let that infect my internalness, like in my internal state. I can see how far you've been through your own journey. I'm glad we crossed paths from that. Yeah, me too. Like this is super cool to come across someone who like knows about this stuff and like actually is like knowledgeable about this sort of stuff and has experience with like things like experiencing Dr. K and everything like that. Like I I used to like so someone asked me recently. I was in my I was in one of my group projects for one of my last bookwork related things. And like during a group session, we one of my teammates, one of my peers, actually asked me like, "How are you?" Like, I'm like, I just said like, even when I'm stressed, I'm happy. And they're just like, what do you mean when you're stressed, you're happy? They're like, what does that even mean? Like, that just sounds like BS. And I'm just like, even when I'm stressed, I'm happy. Like, and then there's like, what? I literally don't know what you mean. I literally have no idea what you're talking about right now. And I was just like, okay, so like, two things, and I explained like, like Advait Vedanta, like I'm bad at pronouncing it, but I think that's how you pronounce it, like non-dualism, and I'm just like, okay, so once, because like we were talking about earlier, like, there's a fundamental part of ourselves that like that is the neti, the part that like is indescribable, like we just experience, like the thing that experiences all other things, the true self that is unchanging, like the thing that we call the observer, like. And once I discovered that, the reason that it's grounding is because now I've meditated enough to the point that I never like lose sight of the observer. Like I'm always intact with the observer, and I always am in a constant state of mindfulness that doesn't drain me at all. Um and so like when people are like, how are you stressed by your habit? And I'm just like, okay, like there is like a surface level amount of stress. Like I can understand that there is a stress signal, but like there is also a fundamental sense of peace and happiness that is like literally unbreakable once you discover it. Um I don't know. I don't even know how, like, from my understanding, that's also what other, like, people who are spiritually inclined end up discovering at some point in their life. But, like, literally, like, I have discovered, like, an unbreakable, like, at least from my experience, like, it hasn't been broken since I discovered it. It, like, I have discovered a damn near unbreakable sense of, like, peace and happiness in my existence. Like, I can be sad and happy at the exact same time. And like, even no matter what negative emotion I'm feeling, there's like a fundamental, like, karmic sense of like, well, this thing just exists. This is just happening. When I was at my most bitter and angry, I think I just wanted to relate to someone. Even misery loves company. So like, yeah. So like, what my therapist did, and I think that she's amazing. Like, I still one day, like, when I have the money, because I'm. Let's be real. I'm a college student. I'm a master's student, not nevertheless. So, like, and so like once I get the money, I literally just want to. I don't need therapy anymore. I don't think. I think it's important to keep up with therapy. Like I might just go in for checkups every now and then, but I haven't felt the need to recently. Um, but like one day, either when I'm feeling down or when I just have the disposable income, I like literally just want to like thank her and tell her how far I've come, even though I know that like there's a separation in the therapeutic experience. I still think it's important to like express your gratitude to the people that help you, like for not from like a therapy and like counselor related, but like literally just from like a person to person standpoint. I think it's important for me to tell her like everything that she did for me. And I think that and like what she did for me was like, I literally, like, I had this idea that like I was a bad person, but so was everyone else. And then like I told her like what I was going through, and like people think that these things are contradicting. Once again, they think that like these things cannot coexist at the same time. But I'm like, she accepted me and acknowledged that like I wasn't being a good person. So she literally was just like, yeah, you're being a bad person. And I was just like, oh, what? So you hate me? And she's like, no, I'm just observing that like you're being a bad person. I really want to help you get better because I think you can get better. And like, but like, it's not because like you're, it's not because like you've earned it through the good actions that you've done, but simply that I think that you've gone through a lot of hurt in your life, and I think that a lot of that has like you feeling alone. So I'm gonna fix that for you. I'm gonna give you an outlet to be with someone, and I'm not gonna let you be alone here. Um, and I literally like that's like all I, yeah. And like that's what I plan, that's like what I do even with like my friends and stuff, is that I tell them that they're just like, and this is what gets people out of things like borderline personality disorder, is that like just when you have a stable relationship, and like cuz to them it's like these two things cannot coexist. You can't feel you can't be angry at someone and also still like them, because in their experience, when people were angry, that sets off the alarm in the brain, like ding ding ding, they don't like you anymore, and you have to, and they're gonna abandon you and stuff like that. And like I literally have just like told my friends before, I'm just like, they're just like like why are you even around me, like I did a terrible thing, or like I hurt you and stuff like that. And I'm just like, and I've noticed that the most powerful thing isn't to be like, oh no, poor sweet baby, you didn't hurt me, like don't worry, it's my fault too, like we try everything, we try soothing them, we try denying that they did anything wrong, we try doing everything in our power to make sure that they don't um that like we do everything in our power to make sure that they don't feel bad. But all I do is simply say, like, yes, I'm angry at, I literally even say, I'm like, yes, you did something wrong. And in fact, it's not even that I'm not mad. I am mad at you. I'm actually really angry with you right now. I'm really upset with you. I think that that wasn't okay. And I think that it's just not okay for you to do that. And I need to draw the line that that's not okay. And you're still my friend, and I like forgive you for it. Like, we're gonna like move past this. It now, on the other hand, if I come to you and I tell you this, and then you deflect and tell me that I'm the shitty person and then everything like that, like if you were just looking for me to like pat your back and tell you that you're great, then like I'm just literally like I'm just like, no, I have no tolerance for that. Like I'm not going to, like, sure, I have tolerance for when my friends just have like breakdowns and stuff, but if someone, and I'll still try to help them through this, but I'm literally like, if you are trying to tell, if you continuously shirk responsibility and for your half of the relationship, then I'm not going to like, then like, I'm not gonna cut you off, but like I want you to know that like you are providing more of a reason for me to go. Like I'm just like, because like I'm not your friend out of, because people are always so concerned. They're always like, oh, people are just my friend out of charity, and that's terrible and stuff like that. And then I tell them, I'm like, no, I'm in this friendship because like I like hanging out with you. And then when I tell them like, hey, the thing you're doing right now, it makes me not enjoy being around you, then they start panicking, and they're just like, what are you just, you're just selfish, you're this relationship is transactional. It's just like, okay, either I'm trying to get something out of this friendship and it's transactional to you, or I'm not trying to do that and to you it's charity. Like, I'm just in a friendship because I like having friends and I like hanging out with you. So like, if you stop making me liking hanging out with you, then like I'm not gonna want to hang out with you anymore. Yeah, exactly. I'm literally just like, so and I'm good at this now. Like before, I would give into it because I'd be really insecure about things like that, and so like we'd go in like a huge back and forth and everything. Yeah, exactly. But like at that point, I've literally told friends before. I'm literally just like when they like get mad at me or yell at me, because like obviously when you take a very calm tone and you refuse to meet them at their level, that makes them feel even more invalidated and they get angrier sometimes. Sometimes I'm just like, okay, I can feel it's getting a little tense. What did you hear me say? And that's so powerful. That's so powerful because now they have free reign to tell you what they really think. Like if you're like because you're literally just asking, you're not saying you heard me wrong. You're acknowledging that there's a miscommunication here. Like what you're hearing is different than what I'm trying to say. Doesn't mean that you're mishearing me. I could be misspeaking. And a lot of times I actually acknowledge like, oh, okay, that's my bad. I could have communicated that better. I understand why you feel that way. And then it gets them weirdly to even, I'm not doing this for this purpose. It's just a happy little coincidence that like they then are more motivated to be like, no, you're not, like it's my bad too. I was also getting angry because of this and everything like that. Like that's like it's not because I'm trying to be their therapist. It's literally just like, this is how people need to talk to people. Like the biggest mistake that we make in society is like, there's this idea where it's like, oh, you can't be a therapist to your friends. And like, I agree with that. I don't think you should give actual like therapy to friends. Like, I think that there needs to be some separation for many different reasons. Like, but The problem is that the mechanism in which therapy works is simply talking about emotions and using active listening skills, which and so because society has determined that only therapists are allowed to use active listening skills and talk with people about their emotions. Now, no one does this, and then everyone's like, oh, I wish I could have communication skills like that. It's like, you literally can, but you're too afraid of being like your friend's therapist. Like, this is just, in an ideal world, how people should talk to each other. Like, because once I started doing it, because like, yeah, there's a feeling of awkwardness that's attached to it. Like, you feel kind of weird talking to your friend in such like a clinical manner. But like, once you move past that, you realize that both you and them feel much more of a connection for doing that. It actually has the exact opposite effect. You actually feel less authentic not speak not speaking like that, because you realize how many coats of paint were over that. Um, 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 oh, I see. Nice. Um, so yeah, like that's my experience with like I think communication. I was literally going to do this, but like I don't know if I'll have my girlfriend on to also talk about this because I like to like I don't know how much she has to say on this and everything like that. But like I think that like like me and my girlfriend have lived with each other for and like take this for any relationship, not just like romantic relationships. Like me and my girlfriend have lived with each other for like over a year and a half now, and like everyone always tells us that like it's just like and like we always tell people it's just like, oh yeah, what's it like living with your significant other? And I'm just like, it's awesome, yeah, it's great, like I love it, she's like my best friend. And then everyone's like oh like but like because then like I think this says so much about like relationships in like common culture. Like when you say you don't have fights with people, they assume that you either avoid them or suppress your feelings. Like, think about like how much you need to fight with someone to think of it as that automatic. Like, they take that. I love how then because then what you realize that they do is that they conflate the idea of oh, I died. I didn't even pay attention to my health bar. They conflate the idea of like disagreement with arguing. Because then they're just like, well, it's healthy to have arguments every now and then. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, I just simply disagree. Like, I just simply disagree that like that is some necessary component of relationships. Like like I literally want to have like a deep dive whether my girlfriend's here or not, because I think that like we have really good meta conversations about our communication, but like literally just like a workshop on like how to like actionable ways that you can have good communication skills regardless of like, because like the way I talk to my partner is the way that I talk to like literally like most people. Like I just am open and honest and genuine with them, and so therefore I'm not the relationship is not from a place of soothing the other person to make sure that they're not mad. It just comes from a place of genuineness. Like, and so you can just like actually like, and then you become like a team. You're like problem solvers. It's not like, oh, either I'm right and I'm the good guy, or like she's right and she's I was gonna say good girl, but that sounds weird. But like you know what I mean? Like either she's in the right or I'm in the right and stuff. But like whenever there's like a miscommunication, like we just simply say like we treat it like scientists. We're literally like, okay, like how do we get to the bottom of this? And like another thing people will say is that like, oh, that sounds so overly clinical and stuff. And I'm just like, and I'm literally like I don't know how to say this, but I'm literally just like, I mean, you're still not being genuine in you're not being genuine, you're just doing it in a different way when you when you like, cuz think about it, like there will always be these little subconscious processes just because you're a human being that is like trying to stop you from like it wants a specific reaction out of someone. You are trying to invoke a certain response out of someone. And so like it's just like why not literally just clinically break it down so this lasts as little time as possible? Because no matter what, like if you're yelling at someone, you're also not genuinely communicating. Just because you have more raw emotion in it doesn't mean that it's more genuine. Because, like, even then, you're not actually expressing the meta thought processes. You're actually just honing in on a raw emotion. And to me, that's not more genuine. It's just more raw. But, like, I feel more heard and seen when I know those are very therapy words. It's just very, like, oh, did you, like, did the way she respond not make you feel seen? Do you not feel seen in this space? Like I know it sounds very cheesy, but legitimately, like when I feel like the way in which I feel seen is when I literally just say like you know, and this is a huge part of it. I should probably just shut up and save it for like the actual talk because then I'm gonna have nothing to talk about. But I can talk about it again when it comes. But like I feel like a huge part that people don't do is that they don't talk about the meta feelings, or they don't talk about like the secondary emotions. Like so for instance, like this is huge. This is huge. Do this in your own relationships. Like when I'm like if I get mad at my girlfriend, like and that sounds very yikesy. It's like, oh, 6 foot tall guy who works out getting mad at his girl. Is this a domestic? Like no. But that's just because like there's a stigma against like guys being angry and everything. Like for good reason. There's men are a huge perpetrator of violence and stuff. But beyond that, like let's say I'm angry at my girlfriend, which is already like a scary thing. It's already like oh no, the big guy's angry. But here's what I do is I say to her like, oh okay, cool. I'll keep talking, and if you miss it, I'll see like. Yeah, okay. I'll super quickly do this. So when I talk with my girlfriend about my thoughts, I'm like, I'm angry at you, and and because I'm angry at you, I also feel ashamed because I feel like I'm being a bad person for being angry at you right now. But like also, I don't want to just say that I'm wrong because then that feels invalidating and I feel like I'm going to suppress the thoughts and just blow up on you later. So I feel like I either have to, yeah, exactly. So dive deeper and deeper and tell them about the conflict that's going on in your mind as it's happening. Because then you can both truly problem solve it. That's what I wanted to say. You can go get Chipotle. Thank you. Like if you're not back or anything, like I don't know what you mean by like going to get it, like if you're leaving and stuff, but like if you are leaving, then like thank you so much for like giving me so many questions and everything like that. This has been awesome. I really hope you can make it to like future streams and stuff because you give me like so much ammo. Oh, okay, awesome. Um but yeah, like yeah, thank you for joining. This has been great. I really hope you can join future streams. Cool. I'll see you later. Yeah, this is great, guys. See, like this is what I'm talking about. Like there are times where like I'm like I can't like where I just I get on here and I literally started off this stream so pessimistic where I'm just like this like but like not in like a bitter way, but I'm just kind of like I objectively thought that like there was just no chance that this was going to be like a productive stream, but like now we've got like an active chatter and everything that's asking like a ton of questions, so like like it's a huge lesson in detachment. Like I'm just like I didn't think that anyone would join the stream, but I did it anyways. And like people who have like perfectionistic mindsets, like they wouldn't have done it because like to them it is an inefficient action and therefore a waste of energy, and they are so intolerant of wasting energy. Like I don't really believe in wastes of energy, really. I think that that's like a construct that the mind makes for efficiency. But like I think there's ways to just do things and like kind of like never lose energy, but that's like a huge meta topic. But like I think that I like I think that it's a really big lesson in like the things that can happen. Like even if this didn't happen, like people would be like, okay, but what about the world where that didn't happen? I'm like, I hate to break it to you, that reality where no one has come in chat and I just kind of awkwardly end stream, that's happened a bunch of times. I just don't save the VOD. Like I'm just like that literally happens all the time. But like I keep coming back and I'm just like, and it's just because like I don't let my hope sway whether I do something or not. I literally can like objectively like kind of analyze it and think that okay, odds are this isn't going to work out. But I'm still going to do it anyways because I want to like put this into this and hope that I get something out of it. Like you can, even though it sounds like I just used hope as a word and stuff like that. Like it's just like it's not like if my expectation that it's not going to work is like I could literally do this thing that there's a 0.001% chance and I'm still like, no, that is still a way that I want to spend my time. But like that literally just doesn't compute for a lot of people. But like this is what I mean. Like it's just like I could have just retreated into my phone or whatever and not done anything this hour because I'm like, well, I don't want to waste my time. I don't like who wants to waste time? That's not a good thing, right? I've got such precious time and everything. I could be door dashing right now. There are better ways that I could have spent my time on this day and this day and this day and this day. But like, as long as you're doing something that can yield results, then like, and you're doing it intentionally and you're doing it like with full awareness of the risks and the pros and cons and all that sort of stuff. Like, I think it's a beautiful thing to do things even though they don't work out or that they may not work out. Like I think that is like one of the best skills that you can cultivate in your life is like the ability to do that sort of stuff. I know that sounds very like, oh, look at me, I'm so detached, but like yeah like I I think I think that like I just have found a lot of happiness and like now I have the gift of hindsight because earlier I was like, yeah, I like do these streams even though they don't yield much results and I have fun with it. I have fun with them like and I understand the risks and I'm willing to take the risks. Even if the risks happen, I can still say, "Yep, I'm glad I took the risks because I wanted to find out what actually would happen if I were to stream like all the time and everything like that." And even if Mango King TV didn't come in, I would have still had a great time. But like, I had an even better time. So like, life is like a box of chocolates, all that nonsense. Um, but anyways, I was just gonna stream for an hour, but like, I was just gonna stream for an hour, but then we had some really good things to talk about, so it's awesome. So but now that Mango King is leaving, I don't really have much else to talk about, and I kind of just talked about a lot of interesting stuff that I could just easily put in a VOD. So I'm just gonna leave it there, guys. But I had a really good time. Thank you once again. I've thanked you like a billion times, but thank you for having such a good conversation with me. It was super fun. And yeah, I'll see y'all later.